We've been talking about Bradley Steiner's The Tactical Skills of Hand-to-Hand Combat, and we are on to tactic number 7, which is the best defense is to attack. This is at the core of the American combative philosophy. At each level, there are foundational skills, there are basics, there are attack combinations, what we call counterattacks. The foundational skills are extremely important, like the foundation on a building. I built a big old cordwood house, and boy, the foundation took us forever because it's holding everything up. Well, it's the same with the foundational skills in combato. They support everything. Two of the foundational skills at white belt are maxims, and one of them is attack the attacker. And the other one is self-defense is war and microcosm, but it's attack the attacker that we're talking about today. I remember I remember in the early days with Steiner in the late 70s and how ridiculed this concept was of attack the attacker. And when I opened my school in Prescott in 1995, all of these teachers in the area hated me, and they said, he's not teaching the true spirit of martial arts. Martial arts is you never attack first. You always defend. You block first. In other words, you let the guy make his move, you counter that move. And there's nothing wrong with a defensive philosophy. Of course, it's what I hold. I don't like to fight. My whole philosophy is defensive. I'm just trying to avoid circumstances, and that's what I teach my students as well. Brad Steiner, remember, would say that every rational person is a pacifist until he's attacked. And I like that. It makes a lot of sense. But your motive is defense, but the means is offense. Of course, you're going to do everything you can to avoid a violent attack, but once it can't be avoided, I don't care if you're a man or a woman or young or old, you attack the attacker. You go after him, you get him on the defensive, you jab his eyes right away. And the simpler, the better. The simpler and more direct in self-defense is always better. But I had the privilege of sitting with Colonel Rex Applegate and Brad Steiner, and the three of us, in the Colonel's library in Oregon, Scottsboro, Oregon. And it was interesting to hear the two people talk. I could go on about a number of things, but in this case, Applegate was talking about when he was commissioned by Bill Donovan to develop the wartime methods, that when he looked into the traditional martial arts, they were too defensive. He just realized those kind of strategies can't work for war. Well, wait a minute. Self-defense isn't war. Like heck, it isn't war. When you're under attack by some psychopathic predator, you're going to die every bit as dead as a soldier would. And the thing about it, too, is this guy probably is psychopathic. And the enemy soldier, may not be psychopathic. But the fact is, when it's unavoidable, unprovoked self-defense, it's deadly dangerous. But the whole nature of attack today, I think, is very different than in the days of maybe the heyday of the traditional martial arts. And I may be out of my realm here on what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about Japan 300 years ago. I don't really know what violent assault looked like there. I have an idea, but I'm not an expert in those areas. I sure know what violent assault looks like in America today. It's horrible. It's horrific. People are mutilated for no reason. People, maybe because of what they believe or their sexual orientation, are beaten to a pulp and having their heads kicked in the ground. You tell me that's not war. Self-defense is war, and the best way to handle it is to attack the attacker. So when you're prepared for him and you see him make his move, make your move, attack him. And ideally, this would be the preemptive strike, where you'd strike before he struck. Now I know what you're thinking. Is that legal? And I want to be clear with you that the only reason you would do this is you are certain this guy is going to hurt you. It's obvious, and it doesn't make any sense to let him start first. And even if you did end up in legal trouble, you wouldn't care because you realize you're going to die or be tortured at this guy's hands. It's not something I take lightly to tell you to hit somebody before he even strikes. But sometimes it is plainly obvious that this person is going to assault you. and they're moving in and they step in a position, you see that shoulder twitch and up is coming the punch. Don't wait to let the punch develop, then block it, and then do your maneuver. Just immediately kick him in the knee, or throw dirt in his face, or kick him in the chest. But you get the idea. It's not the technique right now. It's the concept of the best defense is to attack. Or as the maxim says in American Combato, right at white belt, attack the attacker. When I'm working with beginners, that's really what I'm trying to get across to them. And to get it into their belief structure. It's not going to do it by doing full contact sparring. There's nothing wrong with that. But now you're building reactions that are totally different. And you don't need to have been in a fight to be able to fight. People do it for the first time all the time. Everybody who's had any amount of fighting experience at one time had the first time that they did it. But I can tell you without a doubt, it's making the changes here. And do not be defensive. Attack the attacker. One of my favorite quotes is from Ayn Rand, and she said that force is only to be used in retaliation and only against those who initiate its use. If a moral society were to denounce the use of retaliatory force, it would be enforcing the very thing that it's espousing to be against. I'm paraphrasing, but it's retaliatory force versus initiating force. Of course, initiating force is always wrong. You don't get your way with somebody, you punch them in the nose, you go to jail for that, and rightfully so. Or you get your ass handed to you by the guy who knows how to defend himself. But when you are given no choice and you're backed up to a wall, it's attack the attacker. I want to say one other thing about defensive measures, because there's some out there who say, and I've talked with them before, that if you're expert enough, you could just defend yourself endlessly and not hurt the guy and he'd be worn out and he'd go away. Is that fantasy or what? Look at what police officers go through when they shoot a man multiple times and he doesn't stop. He continues to come until they have to get a shotgun and blow a hole in him because he's not stopping. But somehow your defensive measures are blocking, evading, throwing, letting them get back up, and never hurting the attacker. I think we all know that that's not possible. But even in its best case where it's taught, let the other guy make his move, see what it is, counter it, and then attack him from that point. I teach that too, but only as a last resort when a guy's really taking you off guard. Your best defense is to attack. Next time it's tactic number 8.